And so. Will you, Tracy, please call the roll?
And Chair Whitmer McLeod,
President.
Salisbury, President, Councilor Petty,
Here.
Mr. Andre, Flanagan, here. Mr. Lovell is excused, Ms. Crawford is excused, Mayor Gianfino is excused.
So if anyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting, if you have any questions, comments, revisions, please give them to us now. If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the approve the minutes from our last meeting.
So, I'm sorry.
Okay. I just have one question. Speak, not representatives. Executive speak, or C-suite, executive suite, the same. We can, I can, no, it's okay, no, as long as I understand it, but the only other, I think it's, yeah. Chairperson, I think to try this. Big it's not, by September. Not the name. I think I would receive that service, the ones of it names to us for consideration.
Is there
What
one
they
that
have
has
something,
something?
and then I'd like to have an application to go on my September, the city council's. Okay, right, so my recollection is that we should be with data rather than, even though he's the one that is involved, officer, I probably initiated the conversation here. Okay, but the mayor would actually take, sure, okay, awesome. Very well. We have nothing to do. Anything else? Good. There is a motion on the board of minutes. As with the requested edits. Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Courtney. Any other discussion? Abstentions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, next on the agenda is that we're going to introduce our realtors. Joining us tonight from the Sheldon and Kirsten Castellan. Why can I spell my name right? I've only always called you Kirsten.
Yeah.
I am in the market for an and Kirsten of the company. And they're joining us tonight because our properties are going to shift over to Matt Kirsten from Steve Byer. Steve Byer is no longer with their real estate agency. And we are honored to have these folks come join us to talk about what property. So Tracy, I'll pass this over to see what you do. I will pass it back to that. Let's try to introduce yourself.
Yeah, okay. So we'll be brief. Steve has made a transition outside the company, which is where he wishes the best luck with that. Now makes your property's transition back to us, not the broker, the real estate broker, the owner, operator, but this is Kirsten. She's a licensed real estate agent and also my assistant. But that's, well, those are the two people that are going to be handling it. And I just wanted to go through just quickly a brief, and I don't know if I need to do in this meeting or outside of the meeting, just the properties we have, and just make sure we're on the same page with them, we know what's going on with them. And I just run through those quick, or should we do that? Is that okay?
You have time. What do we
So, want to go into executive session,
Right.
we want to talk about.
Right, so Kirsten and then stay in executive session. Okay, right. Well, then I have to entertain a motion to go into executive session to. Second. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Tracy will do the mission. We will be. Officially that executive session. Can we come out? Well, yeah, I need a motion, a second to come out of executive session.
So, second.
Bill Andre and Terry. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Great. So should we go right to the next item? Let's do Bill, so going on that.
In your packet, you've got, a list of bills and disbursements. The only bill is in our B group, for services in July and August. And then we do have pilot disbursements from Max Studios. As I mentioned, we got payment for everything from them, so all of them needs to go out to work. So that's just here on the disbursement one as well. That one did go out, so we should hear more next couple of months, but that's what we have today.
So, any questions about on our list to A? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve payment of our bills.
So,
Second. The other questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Aye. Do we need to do the treasurer's report separately?
Yeah, I can do that.
No, yeah, okay, go.
thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Are you all for the debate, Terry?
I don't know if it's a good video,
Yeah.
endorsement.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one.
We got a lot going on, so I appreciate it. And we're good for
Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Sarah. All right. So let's keep the party going here. So we're gonna go back and Tracy's just gonna talk a bit about, we're gonna do the UTEP update. And then she has some general updates.
Okay, so in terms of UTEP, Rob Hoyer did send out the notices to municipalities to get their engagement in our new supervision. I do know their comments are due back in October. So we should be in a place at our October meeting to be able to analyze the UTEP. I did hear from Jenny Eames, she would be submitting a letter of support for the adjustments made to UTEP. And so we can discuss that, not really anything from kind of the other Texas jurisdictions, but that's a good sign so far. But what I really wanted to share about today was the supplemental housing policy that goes along with the UTEP. This policy, basically what last month, Rob reached out to me and said, hey, here's what some of our ideas are doing around housing. Might want to look at it. And it's basically using a scoring criteria instead of saying this type of project, that are eligible for enhanced benefits. Instead, what it does is it kind of puts your priorities into a table, assigns points to them, and then if a project meets a certain point level, they get the enhanced schedule. If it doesn't, they do it. And it's even a little more streamlined and understandable, both for the board, for administering applications, and for our applicants. So that's what I had in the packet, or that I provided to you in the packet. It's a supplement that uses that kind of strategy, and I'll share this. So the beginning of the policy hasn't changed. The purpose, the goal, the project considerations, all of that has remained the same. But what I did here is I outlined some terms and calculations, just like how we would determine the rent thresholds. And then I created the advanced pilot schedule scoring here.
Tracy, we should just say for the record what AMI.
AMI is area median income. It's based on the MSA that you're located in, the metropolitan statistical area that you're located in. You're in the Syracuse MSA, so our area median income is based on that Syracuse MSA, which is more or less on the county. And AMI is how many federal and state programs operate their housing programs. They say they set rent thresholds based on AMI, and it's based on household size. So larger households have higher limits. And what I'll do is I'll actually bring this calculator that I'm recommending using, just because it kind of compiles those calculations into one place. And it makes it really easy to pull these rent thresholds. So this is the tool that really just can pulls data, essentially, the US housing market development data. And I'm just gonna, I put in what kind of programs you're working on, put in your county. Then you tell it what you want it to be back, so we take AMI and 60%, 80%. And the way this calculator actually does household size is based on how many, the number of bedrooms, and assumes 1.5 people per bedroom. So an efficient area studio, an efficient area studio is a one-person household, and this way you're not trying to monitor actual households. You're not having people give them your income information, and it just really streamlines the process. So this is how the bedroom or the population or household size works, right? And then the calculator spits this out and it tells you, okay, here's 60% of AMI, 8%, 120% is the household income threshold for those AMIs based on household size. And then it gives you the rent threshold. So this is basically showing the rent threshold for that household at that income. It would not be possible. Password, as we talked about before, is setting 30% of your household income. So it calculates, okay, what is that monthly rental rate that it can be affordable without being cost burdened for households that have say. And so my thought is use this calculator. This is easy. We can give it to our applicants to say, these are your rent thresholds. I did it on an annual basis when base their levels, which is usually around April. And it's easy for us to measure, it's easy for them to track. And so if we're saying, you know, one of the examples I had were like mixed income housing and saying, we want to see that units based on household size are ranging across 30 and percentage points. So it could be 90 to 120%. And so you're getting folks who are kind of workforce housing, but then you're getting closer to, you know, a service industry range. So or another one is middle income, which is looking at around 100%. So really using this calculator to determine what are the rent thresholds for those items.
This is a tool that'll help us. And the applicant deal with it, our application.
Correct. And that's as easy, so it takes 30 seconds to drop what you want to spits it out for you, it's based on better data. So it here's a little like. And for policy, there. And we go old school. Yes, so. That was SU, it's like 30%. And the rent, utilities. Then you get a landline to your phone. And if you were a homeowner, you access the file issue. So does that 30% encompassing all of those entities as well? Or are they just rent? So that is, we should be including utilities and such, but to actually monitor that possible. Okay. All right. So, you know, it would include rent, always includes water, sometimes it includes electricity, but I think to keep things consistent, streamlined, we just say this is the rent level. So that we're gonna see. Different costs, different events, like it's really hard to monitor that. So we would be sending it to different.
And then you have certain programs that are consistent with their billing as well. With the increases too.
Yes, what we would do is this would have, in monitoring, and you have to remain within these. So they can increases, AMI increases, but they would still have these percentages and right threshold for those percentages, so we will be monitoring and asking for rental. To make sure that they're still meeting the AMI percentage that they got the institution. And if they don't continue to meet that, they're private, you would have the opportunity to default, either terminate or adjust their private or capture benefits. You would have that would trigger a default, so they're not. What they see.
I understand.
So what I included in the scoring criteria, basically, I kind of set it as like, these are things that are really important to us, and it's really focused on these income housing, the market housing. And if you're one of those, great, you get the enhancement, but also these other kinds of priorities that we have. You can also get points for those. So if you're mixing and matching historic rehabilitation and attainable family units, that's, that is also achieved. So, so you can like mix and match some things for you. Do one of these things to get the enhanced schedule. So I really wanted to be back on these criteria, how they're scored or how their points are. And if there's anything you want to add or adjust. Like one thing, I have attainable family units, I have at least one unit that's 3+ bedrooms, affordable at 90% AMI. I'm like, is that enough? Maybe not, maybe it should be, 10% of units or.
So Tracy, let me make sure I'm understanding. So someone comes to us, with a housing project.
Right.
And then we would make sure we're in alignment with our UTEP. And then when it comes to discern whether or not this is a project our IDA would consider, you're gonna run the application through this checklist.
So this
Or what they do.
criteria is specifically for the enhanced private schedule, so that we have the standard housing and our enhanced housing.
Right.
We would use all of our normal criteria to decide whether or not the board wants to consider a pilot or benefits for that project, and then this table will be used to qualify them for that extended.
Got it. I just want to make sure, I'm asking for myself, I want to make sure we have an understanding. And I guess my other question is, who scores the project? Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not over, that we may not understand. Okay.
It's a good question.
Yeah. And so, just general reaction to this. Thank you, Rob, for presenting this to us. But what's your general reaction to this? Office is another part of us applying our new center housing. It gives Tracy the opportunity to really run through some specific criteria. If someone, to see if someone either wants, if they want to be eligible for it or enhanced, what is it called, an enhanced?
I think I called it the enhanced.
Get it out of the schedule, or if we want to let this test to see what's there. So what do you think about us having a tool like this as part? Does it make sense, Karen, what you see? What do you look at?
I do like how it breaks it down.
But then, I'm not doing that. Just, house, I had like the school. That's how it works, at least it's something to see. That's like, something like that.
But remember, we have our standard, and then this would be in the project, it's either seeking enhanced, or when Tracy's looking at it, attention. Karen? General reaction, because Tracy would be the expert of the mess with the content of the plan. Just your general reaction to us having a floor resource like this to help us more source is helpful. It's there, there's clarity, either make it or they don't. It fits or it doesn't, so I like it. But, it, present what would a possible scenario be? So would this be one person, what, a two, let's put forward one feeling house. That is deteriorating with housing staff. And, they're landline, they're big taxes on time, all that part of this. It don't know, they're all put there. Is that the type of house that way? Was really looking at a bigger complex, a bigger,
Would be either. So in UTEP, in the main UTEP, we did define, like, they have to be up to date on their taxes, they have to be code compliant, so on, that's the policy. We also say minimum of 10 units, or it could be scattered site. So it could be with 3 unit houses. Or it could be someone coming in and building a complex. It could be either. And this would be applied to same planning.
and I just need April. But I thought, but I read that Jenny had indicated that sometimes it's better for the pilots to be done to just the city without being, so can you elaborate on that?
Those would be for regulated affordable housing, so something that is going through they're going to get financing or grant money or New York State also rural funding, and they have very specific, like, their units are not priced based on income, but they have to confirm that the people living in those units are actually meeting that AMI when they move in. So it's essentially, so they like, yes, like a whole site type project, those will go through the city. Over. So anything that has a regulatory agreement that is based on.
So,
And that is also in the 10% we would push those types of projects.
so today all we have is the supplement.
Yes, I think I saw they included the support.
Alright. So then the next question is. What kind of administrative fees does need to get such an activity?
Well, you do know, we're gonna talk about, adding an annual district fee. So I think that's something to talk about, in terms of, maybe we can say, hey, if you're meeting a schedule, there is one administrator. So you're gonna, let's, $1,200 a year instead of $1,000 or something like that, just numbers, but, I think that's something that we should consider, considering we're gonna have to look at our policy.
So there would be a fine and an application fee.
Yeah.
So that would be get brought on them. And then there would be, because it's pilot, stream fees.
Yeah, so we will continue to have a VA closing, which right now our fee is 1% of the total project cost or some of the estimated benefits. And then when you run the schedule, we should talk about adding in third administration. So we can get that big chunk up front and then thereafter.
And Bill, if I could, I was reflecting on what you're saying about housing. And one of the reasons that we brought the idea of adding something to our intent that would allow us to consider those projects is go remotely in our direction anyway. And the thinking, my thinking when Tracy was talking to this and then we brought it to you is, we'll pick and choose like y'all, right, whether or not we can do something, but I would rather us be ready to have thought about policies, practices, and criteria ahead of that happening to us, so that we know what we would expect in order for us to accept a project of that nature on our own terms, in our rules and like it's right. So, you know, I've seen this across the state, you know, this interesting tension between how IDAs deal with housing is rolling in our direction anyway. And I think I'd rather us just be prepared should we decide we want to do something. Than have a project that we think we have to sort of spur and figure out how we would take it on. But I just think there's an evolving discussion about what we really mean by this. Because I said that conference was like they were cannabis processing plants to houses, right? So it is still trending in our direction. I'd rather us, I love how we just took the time to talk about it to get to this place and remember, we can preserve the right to change our minds. So that's an operating principle, by the way. We can preserve the right to change our minds. So I'm just glad that we're kind of, you know, somewhere to come from us to test.
On that point too, I also, for this mixed income and middle income, I really. So focusing that in income ranges where you're talking about people who work in our community, manufacturer, workers, teachers, firefighters, hospitality, healthcare. You know, this is the area where people in those next occupations are struggling the most. So trying to like putting that 150 AMI limit on the mixed income, you know, elevate that really needs luxury and fine. You know, they probably don't get this fine, but really trying to focus enhancement on that. It's the middle piece that's gonna match our workforce.
Tracy, we don't need to vote on this.
No, I'm expected to. I was just getting feedback, so take a look at it, if you have other thoughts, or if you want adjustments to this criteria. Shoot me an email, give me a call, and we can make those adjustments before. So that we're.
Tracy, if you just want to think about this, I think sometimes it helps us to see what it would look like. So even if you wanted to create a case study or a scenario where we would apply this to a prospective project, I think it'll help us. I'm real visual that way, so, I think it would also help us.
I guess too, when you have time.
Yeah. I'm not hearing any opposition to using a resource of this nature to help us rate the applications. We just need to have Tracy go what the old looks like. So great, thank you so much.
Your goal, but breaking down and giving that description in detail.
She'll create it pretty good for us, I'm sure. So the infographic definitely. Tracy, was there anything else under the general updates?
Okay. So general updates, one is we're still looking to fill that board seat. The mayor sent me a couple of thoughts and hopes that came in his mind. Just to throw out to see if there's any comments on that. Mentioned the lake barrier from Holmberg League, Stacy Evans from Evans Realty, and the air out from Wegmans. Three folks that you can mind. And we said Hutchinson today as well. You know, such a housing background, so just that I can have one side of the follow straight.
Yes.
I want to make a comment about the housing. So the district is I asked if conversation, especially when I thought that it would be some town, yeah, and we reached out to the and he said to me, he was in debt, she I just said, very, it's really no, it was like a conversation. And our vision for the meeting, but 2024 Department of Labor workforce, are significant industries. Houses. It's manufacturing, it's transportation, warehousing, finance, like deliveries, professional business services, educational services, healthcare, social assistance, insurance, hospitality. And we provide them
a little bit broader, we say, first group. Information, the industries and Empire State, the CEO, website. And again, agriculture, biotech, clean tech, energy, craft beer, beverages, I should say, craft beer. Distribution, so but again, nothing about housing, so I really think that, we're pushing it with them. And I, in terms of decision, yes, really offline, it's an industry, right, you're correct, well, real estate. I suppose you would advertise. Software, semiconductor, tier processing.
Well, I think that real estate incorporates burgers and.
Now, now I know that there's gonna be other state, which was the bill be at large post. Aided, Jim Hutchinson was, aided under, faculty campus was chairperson, I believe John, I did been on at one time, the faculty ran for chair, IPA. But
So let me ask on the city clerk, in particular, so having, I think what I love about this list of the plus, and I talk more here, straight to that, be it online thing. I think the other thing that I'm watching, I'm not advocating, so I can little bit of observation, is that the landscape has shifted so quick that that's what I experienced at the council, like people talking about things that I've never talked about, like, if you use words, that they serve in the conference, but I was like, wait but so again, I feel like I was kind of right, that we need to honor our sort of hallmark businesses and industries and use them as the foundation to explore stuff, the changing needs of the communities that we're in, right? So if I just want to make sure I'm hearing, so to have someone, am I hearing you talk about the issue here, that having someone represent the housing, what we're calling the housing industry, to fill the traditional industries seat on this board is something we should give deeper consideration to, or we should be open to us seeing something.
I don't think that's in line.
Yeah,
I think based on labor, even based on more, the industries in the Empire State, Denver State Development,
right.
which is a expanded list compared to what the Department of Labor recognizes is industries. I don't think Atlantic was in large state.
Right.
All right, so I just wanted to know when we did thought.
Well, Karen, if you could do me a favor, Tracy, you could just give that listing of defined industries to the board, and everybody can get a reset to identify people in our community that fit one of those categories. What I think is important to us is to make sure that we're not sitting someone there solely because, but we're sitting someone there who's part of that industry that has their thumb on the pulse of what's happening in the industry. The question I think that in my mind is always one that's like, what is the future politics do, right? And that doesn't mean we have to ignore where we've been as the legacy of, success we've had. I think we're at this weird tipping point right around what people are that we're grappling with. All the stuff we usually consider industry is still there shifting, right? There isn't a Columbia. And there's like Prison City Market, right? That's popped up, and then some of the other, our IDAs are looking at the cannabis industry. Those industries themselves define themselves as an industry, but I think that we should be in alignment right now. So if you can get that list of folks, and we can start to rethink some names related to that. And then I think there's opportunities where it's possible to add people to the board and add large seats. So then I don't know where we can bring people to the committee level. That's an option at some point too. I think that we have access to that expertise without someone being important if our goal is to be aligned with our industries. So I think this is what I asked.
Well, this 2020, yes, updated from 2018, and Department of Labor. So, it's.
So I don't know how to impact the mayor's recommendation, but I think if we get this list, then it'll help us all begin to think through what the teaching them. Who else do we know? Because we have huge net. So in all of those areas, we should be able to identify some of the people that.
So from the mayor's zoning carrier, we post a line for that, she owns it for 8 years. So it's a,
That would be. What, tell me about this.
it's a bead, it's a honey.
Oh, Missy,
Yeah.
yes, that's what it used to like, the Shire, like.
Yes, but hers is like a modest.
Yes.
It's something which like she's almost more like a smart like seltzer type. Fabric, but it's a lot lighter than what you think of when you think of bead. But she's got a grade 5 down there and. She sees, like, she's kind of part of that hospitality industry as well, like, search will go in there, so.
There's a whole lot of shit going on.
So that's a new one here, so is it, it's best in those industries, it is a small business, I wouldn't be surprised if she. Would love to grow. For too long, but,
I think she's a great example for our topic.
check that out.
That you have industries that we are so traditionally looking at in a certain way, and then she can move on from topic.
She's getting, a loan from the city to start this business, so she's used our economic development services. Yeah. So, one option.
All right, so, and also. Now when we're gonna get the list, you go back now, and based off of this, and bring up items. Okay, so tell the mayor that based on this conversation. She found with it, I lead or like.
Yeah.
They'd like, okay, is in alignment, and then I would like to give the board an opportunity one more time to be able to look at the list and start to really expand their, like, who do we know in those industries in the area that sit in that challenge, right? It has familiarity with our hallmark way of being, but also our responding to what the future calls that industry to do. I think that's some expertise. I think I love that we have intergenerational expertise in the room, so I'd like to keep that. Thanks, Tracy. Thank you, Karen. Realize now I care.
So I just took further, just, I wasn't going with my thought, it must be something
Right.
that defines industry. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
You can always come and Karen.
Yes.
I appreciate that. You're a real asset to our board. And you keep us honest. I love that, right? You make sure that we stay mission aligned and doing the thing that we should do. So I appreciate.
Okay, so that's general update. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, the economic development coordination committee, has been meeting, is looking to be requesting the county for their 2026 budget. It's understanding that we're looking at about $150,000 for 2026. So we have put together a list of potential investments that county could make in economic development in 2026. Some strategic plan and continued services from SOPC for our small businesses. A few other items that would really help to support economic development in 2026. But also all of the organizations would still continue to do their own thing, but really support our operations, but also prepare us to extend this economic-wide economic development strategy and ecosystem. So just looking to get some feedback and some head nod from data on going to the county with a request for those types of purposes in 2026.
Any new ideas from our earlier discussion? Are we comfortable with allowing Tracy to stay in this period of discovery around this, our city, our representation around support the inclusion of $150,000 to support laying the foundation for economic development?
I think she explained it thoroughly and I'm comfortable.
And Tracy, you'll just keep us apprised.
Keep it posted
And let us know if there's anything we use in court.
and do that.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we can all pay them.
Well, I'm glad that we have a lot to talk. We're already left in third.
Yes. That's good. Pilot invoice disbursement report, I'm going on to that.
Say that again.
All right, Rex, do you want to move on to the new business?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in third time.
I know. So in the packet, I provided you with the 2024 was the disbursement report, just to show that update that the next goes closed out and being dispersed. And then I also included the one for 2025, I included a few more columns on it, so the text is probably smaller. And basically what that shows you now is the final billing that's been done already. So pilot bills are out through January 1st. I have not issued the new court pilot yet. They are still settling out the assessment adjustment for the city. So I'm gonna wait until we have the final assessment before I issue that bill. Otherwise, we're just gonna have to change it. So that one has not been billed. Couriers might adjust a little bit. That one, the proration might change a little bit that we talked about earlier, so that one might adjust by a couple $100, but everyone else has been billed, bills have gone out, and we'll start including this in the monthly packet so that you can see what's in, what is gone out, and you can track the dates, sure that we're within that 30-day window. So as a reminder, we have to disperse the funds to the municipalities within 30 days of receiving them. So when Mass Studio sends us their pilot agreement, we have 30 days to disperse that. We are currently within that window, it's not a long, I'll get that up this week. But this sheet allows everyone to be in the know of when things are coming in and when things are going out. This year, I'm also keeping a copy of the envelope, so we can show when they postmarked. Just for the record, because the auditors wanted us to recommend last year. So you'll start to see the monthly package, to track of where we are in collection and where we are in disbursement. I did send out to the county, I sent out their annual projections for next year, and they did notice that they're significantly lower, and that's partially because of not having a projection for new quarter yet, without the assessment, but also because of the so you'll notice that our pilot billing is going down, but that's because things are actually and they are paying for it. So that's all I have on the pilot invoices.
Willing to do the budget, just to report out.
Yes.
And everybody got a copy of it. That Tracy created the draft. Okay.
So this, so it's budget time. We have to submit our 2026 budget by the end of October to the Public Authorities Reporting Information System, Harris. And so I just drafted up a budget. I just drafted up a budget as a starting point. I'm gonna review this with the finance committee at their meeting in October. But basically, just wanted to get some initial feedback from the group on if anything in particular you would like the finance committee to take a look at. There it is. Got it. So, this more or less follows last year's budget. You can see the 2025 budget, where we already did the date in that budget. And then I kind of adjusted for what we really experienced. So on the revenue side, I dropped it down a little bit. Our last couple of projects have come in with fees around $30,000. So on the admin fees for the projects, I included just $60,000. So we have two projects at $30,000 each. I did add a line for that fees for existing projects. So that would incorporate fees that we go back for work on things like forbearance agreements and terminations. As well as in the future, we'll add that annual that line. But that won't start until projects are online, that's not that in there. But, we are gonna look at the interest income a little bit. That's us thinking that that might be a little high, but that's high, but, so we're gonna take a look at that. Yes, meeting. Otherwise, nothing out of the ordinary to know. I did reduce this contract services line to $40,000. I think it's worthwhile to look at figuring out how to get the standard services down for next year. And so I did reduce that line substantially. Talk about that part tonight in the meeting, but that's why I'm going to have to have a deeper conversation on. But everything else is pretty much based on what we actually pay those things. The audit is part of what we got, the auditor, the office supplies, like with what we give for QuickBooks, but also postage and mailings. You know, we send out a lot of certified mail, especially during the highlight season. So that's a good way to. And if not already implemented, fees it would have also that cost as well.
So. I would look at the quick see. So you would pay monthly for those books to get a burn on here. But you would pay for a whole year. Because we used to pay, I worked to pay for lunch.
No, we can monthly, I can look at the fee for this. See if that helps.
Within this software. All the online.
No, I'll look at the annual fee, see if we save us.
And that's why.
I think we started paying monthly, because that was how we get the best deal when we started the contract, or is it something we will? So maybe now that that's over, that's 9 months or 12 months, now that that's over.
Busy, are we projecting a $25,000 deficit at this point?
This is just year to date.
Got it. Oh, that will be true for, I see.
Yes, so the first column is year to date.
Got it. But the budget is the one factor.
Correct.
Any stage is looking at this high level that we want the finance committee to pay attention to. Think about.
Do you know all of that? You all just have my head.
It's Gwen, Karen, and Tessa.
So this is just for information only at this point, Trace?
Yes, so what we'll do is when the finance committee finalize, talk about those items that I mentioned, we will have to vote on it in so new revised budget for final draft. So over again, that.
Trace, can I make a recommendation just because we had such a rich conversation? What I'd like to do, I think it's really important, we talked about this, that it's really important for us to understand the items that are in our board and education column. So it's ADO guidance on oil, freedom of information law, and open meeting law. We would call this from, but I do think it's really important, especially in this environment, trying to live in, for us to know that. So I'm wondering, Tracy, if part of our next board package, you could do the fast before the eye sort of highlights of this. So that we get it as a pre-review, and then we can have more of a discussion item. That's actually not have to necessarily do a full presentation on it, and Rob can help us with that too. It's really important to me that we really understand what those thoughts are and how they affect data, and what a couple of scenarios could look like should they be one of the challenge to rather.
And I think we started to get on, we got at this because we were talking about what could or could not happen in executive session. So I think Rob would do that, if you could just create, I'm sure there's an infographic out there, something that would be easy for us to look at in this packet. And then we're just leading more into a discussion. I think this is important, I'd like us to get to it soon.
Well, we're gonna have to stop having so much business.
Which is a good thing. Is there anything else to come before the board?
Oh, there's one thing I wanted to mention is, the next board meeting is October 15th, that is the same, it's a chamber annual dinner. I know the mayor's planning to attend the annual dinner, I don't know if anybody else was planning to attend, but I just want to mention that in case we need to schedule, or in case anybody wants.
Does the AO board, we should be, some representatives of.
It would be great to have representatives. The mayor always goes, Terry will probably go. That's my thing.
I think it goes, but I think that we should be there.
Jim used to go, even used to buy Jim and take it, we're in his chair, so.
We should, let's reschedule it. And then for those of us who want to go, maybe just like, Jason, figure out.
Get a table.
Well, I don't know if we're doing it.
Well, we want to know what the food's gonna be. That's my husband would have said. But I do think it's important that we attend that event, and I'd love for us to attend. But we put it, I don't know, maybe we might have to say different things. Tracy said. And, yes, I would love for us to do that, and then Tracy, if you can just do a poll, us and see, what they aligns with all of us, to just another business.
I can't, looking at those things now,
And it's October
15th,
I'm sure, I'm sure.
family style dinner, harvest-field green salad, raised beef, short ribs. Tangerine, gravy, garlic, mashed potatoes, paste. So yes, I will send out a note and, see who wants to register and also, some digital tools to figure out.
What's there? Is it us? It's the table.
I think our tables are 10, and I also did it. I don't have 10, right? You don't see a table.
All right, so Tracy will send us the information. And then I'd love for us, maybe not critical mass of us at that meeting, I think it would be good for us to show there, then Tracy will send us some. Is there anything else? For the board. If not, I want to thank you for your work. I'm so proud of us. I really feel like we're doing a really good job. It was a great week. I want to let you know that whenever I'm attending meetings with our partners, my counterpart on these CCI, what's
It's on CCs.
Alva says, tell if you're doing that, other than you, it's doing great work, and I have to talk to you about some of the things you're doing. So when you think where we are now, it's like our collective hard work and having a week, right, everything that's awesome. And so, know that I really appreciate it. Good job. Thank you. Yeah. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. All right, that's great.
Thank you. This is only a one-time out of the year